What's up, YouTube? YYC Cop Fights, Andrew here. Breaking news out today. Manchester City has been banned from European UEFA competitions for the next 2 seasons. This includes the Champions League and Europa League for the 2020-21 and 2021-22 seasons, as well as being fined €30 million for breaking financial fair play laws. In More in focus is financial doping. So, from what the understanding is, this was leaked back in 2014. Apparently, Manchester City's emails were hacked, and it has been proven that Sheikh Mansour has been taking money out of his own pocket, claiming it as sponsorship deals, and funneling it into the club. There's always been some kind of speculation around Manchester City and the amount of money they've been spending, how they've been outspending some of the biggest clubs in the world when they obviously don't have the same fan base or the same match day capacity at their stadiums. The empty hat is not a myth. This is a legitimate thing, whether or not Manchester City fans want to hear it or not. So going forward, what does this mean in the short term? Short term, we are talking about not playing in the Champions League or Europa League, so some massive revenue loss, not only in TV rights but also in match day, and obviously making your way through that. But going into more along the lines of what's going to happen now for the Premier League and their rankings and what teams are going to be playing in the Champions League. So, from my understanding and from everything I've been able to read, and I've spent a lot of time doing this today, talking to specific people who have been involved in this for a long time, we are looking at that Manchester City's placing in the Premier League will no longer be considered. So it's like they're not even there when it comes to standings. They're obviously still playing games, and we can't just stop them from playing football matches. But they're obviously still there. But what this means is that the teams in 5th, 6th, and 7th now get promoted into 4th, 5th, and 6th. So as of right now, that means Sheffield United is in a Champions League spot. They're in 4th place in the Premier League, technically under this ruling. So they will be playing in the Champions League next year if they stay there. And 5th and 6th, or 6th and 7th will now be 5th and 6th, putting them in the Europa League spots. Going forward, what is this going to mean? So obviously Manchester City has released a club statement calling this a prejudice ruling and all of this, saying that they are going to appeal this in the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which obviously any team would do. It doesn't matter if you're caught or not, or if you're guilty or not, you're going to appeal it with any hopes to try to keep your revenue coming in. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of euros and pounds in TV rights and promotion throughout the competition in revenue that they're now losing, which is going to make it even harder to buy players going forward, because they've already been breached and already thought of in breach of financial fair play. So they are going to be under a microscope going forward. Not good news for the club. Now, Manchester City have until July 1st. It's either July 1st or June 1st. I've heard contradicting stories, but either way, it's one of the two, June 1st or July 1st, to have their appeal processed by the Court of Arbitration of Sport. If it is not processed by that date, the ban for next season stands. There's nothing they can do about it. They have until that date to get it in and get the court to accept the appeal and to start the process. The possibility of this happening is very, very, very slim. Now, obviously, Manchester City, knowing this has been an investigation going into them, would have taken steps through their lawyers. They have some of the best sports lawyers in the country, and they will have a plan in. They would have had a plan in place if this did happen, where they could get this into the Court of Appeals right away. Problem with that is the Court of Appeals does take its time on reading through all the evidence. Now, they're going to have all the evidence from Manchester City. They're going to have all the evidence from UEFA. They are going to look through it all before they decide whether or not they can even appeal the case. The possibility of this getting done in that time frame is very, very, very slim. So it looks like right now that Manchester City will not be involved in the Champions League for the 2020-2021 season. That's the long and short of it. Now, what are the future ramifications here? What are the long-term ramifications? Now, I'm going to bring another sport into play here, just because I know a lot of Manchester City fans, I've seen this all over social media, have been stating, if Sheikh Mansour wants to invest his own money into the club, that should be his right. It's his business. And in some way, you're right. However, what this does is make competitions more competitive, whereas a team can't get bought out, or a club can't get bought out by someone who is an absolute multi-billionaire and then just funnel money into the club to put them up in that crazy status and have them kind of winning competitions in and out for seasons to come, because it's just it makes it unfair to the rest of the league, makes it unfair to the rest of the competitions, whether it be the Premier League, whether it be the FA Cup, whether it be the Champions League. So to give you some perspective, a lot of people in Europe might not follow it that much, but the NHL, what are we going back, maybe 20 years ago now, they brought in what's called a salary cap. I think it was about 10, 12 years ago, they brought this into play. The reason for it is because at that time, there were certain teams that were getting, because they were in a bigger city, larger market, their owners were getting more, they were making more money, they had more money, they were buying better players and buying up all the best players from the lesser teams around the league and creating these super teams that were absolutely dominating. Now, it was great for the fans of that team and for that team itself, but for the sport as a whole, it was crushing it, because you knew as soon as you had a good player, one of these teams was coming in, buying them out, and that was the end of it. Your team was going back to square one. So they brought in this salary cap, and since doing so, what it's done is it's made the league extremely competitive. The NHL is one of the most competitive leagues in the world because of the fact that on any given day, one team can lose to another. It doesn't matter if you have the best player in the world. You have this possibility because the playing field is very even. It's very level. Now, that's why this financial fair play was brought into UEFA and adopted by the other leagues, the Bundesliga, the La Liga, the League One or League Serie A, and the Premier League. They brought this in to make it more competitive, to make it more entertaining, and it worked. It did its job. If you think about back in the days when Liverpool was winning everything and then Manchester United was winning everything, in the past couple of years, we've seen Manchester City winning titles. We've seen Leicester come in and win a title. Tottenham, who don't spend money, have been up in and around there for years now, aside from this season, obviously, but they've been up in and around that title race. These Arsenal, another one, in and winning titles. These things happen because of the rules saying that you have to have that break-even policy. So do I feel this is a fair ruling by UEFA? No, I don't. But not in the way that you would think. And this has nothing to do with me being a Liverpool fan. This has nothing to do with me and the rivalry with Manchester City. This has everything to do with the integrity of the sport. And another sport that just got caught in a cheating scandal was the Major League Baseball. The Houston Astros just won a World Series by stealing signs. Cheating in sport just shouldn't be allowed. These players are paid millions. These clubs make millions and millions and millions. And there should be no reason to cheat. It's our money. It's fans' money. Obviously, it's the sponsorship as well, but it's the fans who are buying the kits. It's the fans who are going to match days, going to events. These things all help your club do better. Your fan base helps build your club. If someone can just come in and spend billions and billions of dollars or pounds or euros or whatever you want to look at and go, yeah, now we're the best team in the world, what does this do to all the other teams that have their fans going all the time? Now, the other side of it is, what does this do to the integrity of the game? And here's why I think this ban wasn't big enough. How long have Manchester City been cheating for? Now, this was brought to the attention in 2004. We're heading into the 2020-21 season. We're talking about 6 years. So if they've been accused and been found guilty of cheating for 6 years, I think if you really want to take cheating out of sport and improve the integrity of a sport, you cheated for 6 years, you're banned for 6 years. That should be the way this is dealt with. Now, a 2-year ban is a great start. This is amazing to see UEFA come out on one of the powerhouses in world football, which is Manchester City. They've been winning everything aside from the Champions League, but domestically they've been winning everything. They've been keeping other teams out of Champions League, and that revenue by cheating I don't think it's enough, but it's a good start. I think it's one of those things where, you know, you've gained all this revenue, your club's been able to buy better players, and you've still cheated and financially doped your way into getting better and better players again, spending £1 billion since, what is it, 2014 or something like that. Manchester City has spent £1 billion on players. No other team in the world has done that. And Manchester City, as much as they are a successful club, they're not a big club. There are bigger clubs than them all throughout England. Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle is a bigger club than Manchester City. Sheffield United is up there. Wolverhampton is up there. They're in that range. Tottenham is a bigger club than Manchester City. These things, you've basically bought your way and put yourself in a status that you didn't deserve because you cheated to get there. So what does this mean now for the Premier League? What does the Premier League have to do to nip this in the butt? Okay, Manchester City is banned from the Champions League. What is the Premier League going to do? Now, there's been some stuff on social media saying that there's a possibility of a point reduction for Manchester City this year. Really, that's not going to do anything. They're not winning a title. They'll maybe finish second. Leicester's in there and abouts, giving them a good run for it. You know, but nobody else is really getting up there. So what is it exactly? They're not getting in the Champions League next year anyway. So what is this year going to do? I think if the Premier League want to increase the integrity of sport, get rid of this notion of cheating and match fixing, and there's already so much going on. This is just another red marker on the Premier League. You need to come out and go, okay, if you are found guilty after doing your court of appeal, this is what we're going to do. Whether it be remove the trophies that they've won over that time, whether it be substantial fines, whether it be a point reduction for the next season, which again isn't going to matter because all they got to do is get in the Champions League, banning them from the other two cups, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, whatever it takes. But something needs to be done to improve the integrity of this sport. If this was Liverpool, unfortunately, I'd be saying the same thing. So don't think this is a bias. This is more about the integrity of sport because I'm just tired of seeing all this stuff on cheating. The NFL had Deflategate with the Patriots. You know, there's been the cheating scandals in the NHL for years. Major League Baseball with the steroid use and all of that. These players make millions and millions and millions of dollars, pounds, euros. The clubs make millions, but you're still cheating. What does this say to the fan bases? What are you telling the fan bases that, hey, thanks for all your money. We're going to go out and shoot ourselves in the foot anyway by cheating. It's ridiculous. Something needs to happen. I honestly, I feel bad for Man City fans. I feel bad for Man City players. This is just something where, you know what, you've been caught. If another team was caught, I'd be saying the same thing, but you need the book thrown at you at this point. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is kind of what I feel is going to happen now in the future of Man City and what is going to happen players and management-wise. Right off the bat, I think Pep Guardiola is gone at the end of this season. I think this is too much of a tarnish on his career as a manager. He is a brilliant manager, but he said so himself in another interview. He wouldn't be able to do this without the money. Well, unfortunately, Pep, the money that you've used to build your squad was cheated to get. This is a big, big black mark on his resume. Not his fault, but he needs to distance himself from the club as soon as possible if this turns out to be true. I don't think he can even risk going through the 2 years or however long it takes for this appeal process to go through and have this tarnish him. Now, the other side of it, what is it going to do for the players? Well, pretty much Manchester City are not going to be playing in the Champions League next year. That it's a write-off. It's just not going to happen. I don't see them getting this appeal through in time to stop that. So I think Leroy Sané, who's already pretty much going to go anyway, is going to be out the door. Now, again, as what I said with Pep Guardiola, this is now a black mark on these players' careers. You know, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Sergio Aguero, Vincent Kompany, who just retired but still is in that category. All these players who've been involved since this financial fair play deal has been in place, and whatever date it's been proven that Manchester City broke this law, you have a giant black mark on your resume. You are a Premier League winner, but with an asterisk. There's an asterisk there stating, yes, you won it, but you didn't deserve it. You cheated to get it. What players are going to want to keep that around? Most of these players are going to look at it. The likes of the De Bruynes, the Agueros, the Gabriel Jesus, the Leroy Sané, the Aymeric Laporte, the David Silva. There's another one. Brilliant career this man has had, but again, asterisks beside what you've won, because as of right now, it's been proven that your club cheated to get it for you. It sucks. I feel bad for the players. I feel bad for Man City fans. I would never wish this on anyone, but the unfortunate fact is it's true. Right now, it's been proven true. And unless the appeal says otherwise, it sucks. It sucks because it had nothing to do with you. You as fans, them as players, Guardiola as a manager, it had nothing to do with you. It was the hierarchy at your club going, you know what? We think we found a way we can make this work. We're going to try to pull the wool over the Premier League and UEFA's eyes and cheat and funnel more money into our club than we actually are earning. And you were caught. It's the long and short of it. You were caught. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 4 months is going to be huge. The next 3 months, the next 2 years is going to be huge. And then it's going to be interesting to see what the Premier League do. There is so much that can be done here. There is a statement, and I was reading it, and I've been trying to find out what the truth to this is, and it does look like it's pretty true. If the Premier League deem that you have breached the financial fair play rules or breached league rules in a significant way, they have the ability to demote you to League Two. I'm going to say that again. If you have breached Premier League rules in a substantial way and been found guilty, you can be demoted to League Two and forced to play from League Two to work your way back up into the Premier League. That I don't see that happening. I really don't, because I think Man City now has got a bit of a global brand, obviously not to the extent of some of the teams I mentioned earlier. I don't see that happening. However, I can see some very, very significant punishments coming down from the Premier League and from the FA onto Manchester City for breaking these rules. It's going to be interesting to see. So guys, please leave me some comments. If you like the video, if you have any questions, let me know. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. When I hear more information, I'll be putting it out here as soon as I can. Other than that, we'll see what happens, and we'll talk to you all soon.